Hello, it's Alison here. I've just made a little video to explain the structure of your will. So we'll go over the outline of the structure. I'm going to explain in a bit more detail what the gift over provision means. I'll go over the main appointments and the main gifting clause. And I'll also just explain some of the legalese that's in there. So the will is divided into parts, you'll see, and part A is the intentions section. So this is where the intentions are stated, including that this is your last will and that you revoke all previous wills. This is required to make the will valid. And then sometimes we might have some additional intentions if they're applicable. So, for example, if the will's made in contemplation of marriage, we'll have a clause like what you can see here in C. And if you're known by any other names, that'll be there as well in that intentions section. Then moving on to the next part, this is where you make your directions. So this is where all the gifts are, and also where the people are appointed to the various roles. So starting with your executors, usually that would be your spouse as the first executor, and then you may have as a backup one or two people. This could be siblings or adult children, for example. If you have minor children, then this is the part here, testamentary guardian. This is where we appoint the guardians. So you'll have, usually one person and then perhaps a backup as well. So you'll find that in that section. The next part is where you gift your personal belongings. So your personal belongings are defined at the back of your will. So you can have a look at that and make sure that you're happy for all of those things to be included. It includes things like cars, for example. So just have a read of that definition. But generally, your personal belongings will be gifted to your spouse. And then if your spouse doesn't survive you, to your children. And this part here, 4.2, this is where we say that if you've made a list, you want of where your personal belongings are to go. So you might do that in your letter of wishes. Then if you have done that, your executor is requested to follow that list. Okay, the next part, I'll just explain briefly the gift over provision, because if you have a look at the previous slide where we talk about your personal belongings going to your spouse with the gift over provision not applying. So I just want to explain what gift over provision means. So again, this is a term that is defined at the back of the will in part F. And essentially it says that if you've left a gift to a person, but they have died before you, leaving their own children, then those children will inherit that gift once they turn 21 years of age. If there's more than one, they share it. So that's something you need to understand, because in the next part where we've made the actual gifts in your will, so this is under residual estate, usually you can do whatever you like, but usually couples will leave everything to each other first. So this 4.1, I give my residual estate to my spouse, we'll list their full name. Absolutely, with the gift over provision not applying. So we don't want it to apply to that gift, because we want it to apply to the gift in the next level down. So if the gift to the spouse fails, then you divide your estate as follows. So if you have, for example, 3 children, you might leave it to all 3 children. And this is where we would usually say with the gift over provision applying. So that means that it would go to your grandchildren. This is a case-by-case basis. So we'll take your instructions on this, and your will be drafted to reflect your instructions. So just check that what we have done is what you want. Then this clause here is to just say that if any of these 3 gifts fail, because, say, one of your children has passed away and they didn't have their own children, then that gift gets added back into the remaining gifts. And then not always, but usually will also include what we call a catastrophe clause. So this is if you and the whole family all die at the same time, then you can nominate where your estate goes. The simple way is for it to go to your spouse's siblings and then to your siblings, but things here. So your will might not look exactly like this, or it may not include a catastrophe clause. Once you've got adult kids that have moved out of home, it becomes pretty unlikely that you'll need this. So sometimes we just don't include it. Sometimes people will put charities here or really anything. So again, just check that it reflects what you want. And then we have this sort of add in again so that it's like a catch-all, this 6.5 here. Okay, moving on to the next part. There is this part C, superannuation death benefits. So what we're attempting to do here is to cover all bases. So if your binding death benefit nomination is not up to date, or if you haven't made one, then this is what this clause is for. We're trying to get your super to the people that you want your super to go to. Really, you need to make sure you've got a valid, binding, up-to-date binding death benefit nomination form. If you need any more information about that, please let me know, but we have sent you some info about that, or we've discussed it as well in the meeting. There is information about your binding nomination in the letter of advice as well that comes with your draft will. Now, Part D, directions for my executor. This is where all the powers of the executor are listed. This is a really long section, so we would describe it as like the hamburger with the lot. So it's much easier to have powers that you don't need in the will rather than not include a power that you wish you had. So most of these will probably never be needed, but it's better to have them and not need them than the other way around. You don't need to understand this in detail, but by all means, if you want me to explain any of it, please let me know. Part E is the interpretation. So this is how the will should be read. So, for example, you know, the law of Victoria applies, headings should be read as well, those types of things. And then Part F is the definitions section. So this is, for example, where I said that the gift over provision is defined here. Anything that is capitalised in the will be a defined term that is here at the back of your will. So have a read of those as well. But again, the legalese you don't need to fully understand. The most important thing is that you understand sort of Part A and Part B, but happy to explain anything. Now, next steps. Please make sure you read that letter of advice. There's a lot of really useful information in there. Sometimes if we need further instructions from you, that'll be in the documents highlighted yellow. So if there's anything there, please give us those further instructions. If it's names, we always need middle names. Please check the documents, make sure that they accord with what you want. Check all the names are spelt correctly. If you've got any questions, please just don't hesitate to get in touch by email or phone. But otherwise, that's it for this video. Thanks.